recognize the member from Oshawa.
Thank you, Speaker, and I'm pleased to stand in support of this PTSD Benefits Amendment Act brought forward by my colleague from Essex. Frankly, this bill should not be necessary because we should have ensured that all first responders and frontline crisis workers were covered by Bill 163. The member from Parkdale High Park first introduced a PTSD benefits bill that included all workers, as we heard about 8 years ago. So let's get this done, and let's get people the help that they need to heal. The government finally extended presumptive coverage to many of our first responders in Ontario. Great. But many others who work in highly stressful, dangerous and potentially traumatizing situations, though, who didn't meet some arbitrary government standard for inclusion, were left out. I want to thank the many first responders and crisis responders who have been denied coverage, first by WSIB, then by their government, then told to get back in line for WSIB just so they can be denied again, but who have continued to advocate for themselves and others. And we've already recognized them, but I really appreciate seeing them here again today. Thank you for your presentations at committee. Thank you for your letters. Your pain and torment and journeys are heartbreaking, and some of them horrifying. We just have a few minutes, so I can't share those stories, but because you already have time and time again, we'll let the record stand. This government declares nurses to be first responders on First Responder Day, but hasn't followed through when it comes to PTSD coverage. At committee, first-hand accounts of traumatic events shook all of us up. But it shakes me up that nurses have to come to defend their work and beg for their health from this government who, like WSIB, deny their appeals. Let's cover them. Bailiffs were left out. They are critical incident stress managers, ISIT members, and incident negotiators. In order to even become a bailiff, first you must be an experienced correctional officer. You shouldn't be able to have two correctional staff working the same traumatic incident, one covered and one left out in the cold. Let's cover them. The OPPA and the PAO advocated for special constables at committee. Quote, exposure to trauma and its effects is not an issue faced only by police officers. We must ensure that no one who commits their career to public service in the policing field is made to suffer as a result. End quote. Let's cover them. Another group that must be included are probation and parole officers. Legislation should support those who need it most. Their employer, the Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services, collects that data. They know that this group of peace officers need to be included under this PTSD presumption. I heard from a 10-year probation and parole officer whose world came crashing down in 2011, and a WSIB claim was submitted by the ministry. As she said, quote, I was denied. When I called to ask why I was denied, the woman stated, based on her checklist, I did not have a workplace injury. I asked her if she was a mental health professional to make that determination, and she stated she was not, and I was denied based on a checklist. I did not appeal, end quote. This should not be the process. This government and its checklist team shouldn't be allowed to deny or further traumatize our first responders and frontline crisis workers. They look after us. We need to look after them. Support this bill and let's cover them.